Local voters have spoken. Nearly 80% agree the obsolete and aging Rodman Dam needs to be breached. A free-flowing river will bring jobs and recreational tourism to our area. Click now. Tell your representatives. Restoration can't wait.
Welcome to Affordable Housing Matters, a program on local housing issues presented by WFOY on the first Friday of the month, produced in cooperation with the St. John's Housing Partnership and Mike Bonts Public Relations. Today, Bill Lazar, Executive Director of St. John's Housing Partnership, is talking with Scott Maynard, Economic Development Director with the St. John's Chamber of Commerce, about how the lack of affordable housing is hurting the local economy and business community. Scott has over 33 years of experience in career services. Experimental education, is that what that is?
Experiential, yep.
Experiential let me just turn this
education.
up. I could use some of that experiment. Okay. And workforce development. And gentlemen, welcome. It's all yours. Take it away. Let's talk.
Thank you, sir. We appreciate it. Well, we're here, and I think it's great that we've got the chamber because, we've been working on affordable housing stuff for years. And it, going back to when I first started here, the chamber had a group called the Council of 100. And they talked about economic development back then, and workforce housing was always a part of it because any employer wants to know how stable their employees are, where they're going to be, where they're going to live, and in many cases they want them living close to work so they can get there in a hurry when you call them. So I think you guys have a tough job trying to help attract employers sometimes when they look around and say, where are my people going to be living?
Right, we do, and not only that, but existing employers, where are they going to find opportunities for housing for their employees, especially as a lot of our local industry is looking to grow and expand.
Yeah.
They're doing well, but this housing issue keeps coming up and keeps getting worse and worse, and we're all going to have to pitch in and come up with some opportunities.
Yeah, I think so. I think a big part of it is that if any one entity or any one group thinks they're going to fix it by themselves, they're delirious. It just, we've talked for years that it's like a three-legged stool. If you don't have local government, builders, developers, and lenders all at the table at the same time, it doesn't happen. You have various little successes, and I noticed you mentioned one or two of the ones that are happening on here now. But ultimately, if we want to kickstart this thing, we've got to get everybody to buy into we need to address this now, and we all need to respond in a timely manner. It doesn't do any good for you to say, I'm going to start running down the road, and Bill, when you catch up, we can talk about things. It's like we've got to move in tandem. It's planning, and that's one of the hardest parts.
Bill, I've been in this position almost a year now, so I'm fairly new to the region. Been living in the region about 2 years. In doing research on workforce housing as I started my job, I went back, and the St. Augustine Record has articles from, I stopped at the year 2000, but I'm sure they go back even further, right?
Yeah.
Talking about the workforce housing crisis, the affordable housing crisis, and here we are 22 years later, and we're still talking about that. But I couldn't agree more. I think it's going to take all the groups coming together to put forth some solutions or potential solutions that everyone can buy into.
Yeah. I've been doing this, started the Housing Partnership in 1998, started working here in 95 when the SHIP program asked us to help start with a rehab program. I still run into people from back in the late 90s that we help buy a home. There's a guy at Publix works in the bread section, and or in the deli, and he said to me about 2 years ago, he says, you helped me buy my first houses with SHIP money, and we got down payment assistance, and we're still in it 20 years later. We've almost paid it off. We refinanced it and put a new roof on the house, and I'm going, you're a perfect example. I said, you're here still working at Publix, moving up that employment ladder. Because you had a stable home to live in. So it's a huge benefit for local employers. It's just, it's really hard. And I know some employers have been struggling so much, especially some of the folks in the restaurant industry. I've heard of a couple of them saying they're buying rental property just so they can rent it to their own employees to keep that key person close to the job.
Yeah. And I talk with people in the industry every day, and everyone's facing the same thing, whether it is our local industry, whether it's our sheriff's office, our fire department, our education, St. Johns County School District.
We got a huge issue with our teachers.
Yeah, they are all trying to address this issue or looking for ways to address this issue.
Well, it's hard. We are such a popular county. It's such a great place to live. I mean, in many cases, it's kind of like paradise when you look around and you realize what we've got. We're in the top 10 of way too many lists all across the country. And we've got everybody moving here. And then on top of it, what my sort of rant for the year has been, what's really ruining the market are the rental investors that are coming here because they realize that they're buying up starter home opportunities, they're buying up resales, and they realize if people want to live here, they can charge almost whatever they want. And that, paying too much for rent is the biggest thing that becomes an impediment to you buying your first home because you can't save. You're just maxed out just trying to pay those bills.
And hopefully some of these programs, and we were talking earlier about the ability maybe to stack these programs and put together a package.
Yep.
But some of these programs, like the Hometown Heroes program, hopefully we can push that and provide that opportunity to more people instead of the one today, one tomorrow. You can get larger groups taking advantage of that. I think that's going to be a huge key to the success as well.
Well, it's, and that's a good point. The state used some of the Sadowski Housing Trust Funds. Florida has one of the most creative affordable housing mechanisms in the country in the Sadowski Housing Trust Fund. It's a doc stamp that's based on real estate sales, and it goes into a trust fund, and then it gets divvied back out to every community on a pro rata share. But what the state did last year, the legislature, was they set aside some for about 40 different specific occupations, and a lot of it's related to teachers, first responders, those kind of folks that are really critical to keeping the community going. And, it's a great program. It gives you up to 5% of the purchase price as down payment assistance, which definitely covers the closing costs and a little bit extra if you've got it there. The big thing is that we need to make sure people know about it and that everybody can get access to it if they are that teacher, that firefighter. It's like we're talking about your son moving here and everything else. If they know about it, they can ask. And sometimes it may be, okay, if my particular lender doesn't have it, then I need to find someone who does. And that's a big part of like with the Board of Realtors. They educate their realtors about it. Someone could tell someone about it as a key to making that sale.
Right, yep. And I think that's huge. I saw yesterday, I believe it was Bank of America announced that they're going to have a new zero down payment mortgage program based on your rental history.
Yep.
I thought that was always a great argument. If I've been paying $1,800 a month in rent and successfully been doing that for 7 years and never missed a payment, then I should be able to qualify for a $1,500 mortgage at this point, right?
And that's the big challenge. I mean, because your credit score, no matter what anyone says, your credit score rules the day. And sometimes it's a matter of that the landlords don't always report your payments.
Right.
And if they get into reporting it and you're one of those people that pays on time, then it's a huge plus. But if it's not on your score, then it's really hard.
Yep. I agree.
Well, gentlemen, we're going to take a short timeout.
Yes, sir.
That way you can catch your breaths and
say nice things on Facebook.
Yeah. Well, no, everybody knows you're going to stay on Facebook during the break. Okay. You're listening to the St. Johns County Morning News, the Affordable Housing Matters program, first Friday of every month. Stay with us right here for more after the break.
1968.
Thank you, sir.
The break didn't fire, so I fired it's a fill-in break. We call it a quick break. It's
technology, right?
Listen, I've been doing this in some form or fashion since 1969. Let me tell you, things have changed.
A little bit different.
A little bit different. The big turntables. Everything was timed. Okay, I mean, kind of almost, I mean, you looked at the clock. Oh, I have to meet the news on the hour. Okay, let me see how long this record is and what the commercial is and things like that. You don't do that anymore. You know it's coming up and it's automatic and it just takes over. Usually, even if you keep talking, it'll just stop you.
In the old days, if you needed a break, you put on Stairway to Heaven at 8 minutes.
I usually used Rhapsody in Blue, which, you know, because of the station I was on, you know, back in the old days, they would not allow a Stairway to Heaven. Okay. You know, once in a while we could throw a Donnie and Marie in there or something. Mostly Frank Sinatra stuff, which, by the way, I like virtually everything except opera. I
have a hard time.
I can listen to country. My dad had a huge record collection, and he had show tunes, and swing, and jazz, and you know, all of it. So I used to listen to it. And then when I wanted to go upset, I might take one of my Beatles albums. Oh, that's not music.
No, but that's it. In your position, everything comes across your desk. I mean, you get a whole medley of stuff to at least experience.
It was a lot. No, look at this. I got a whole little thing to read when we rejoined after.
There you go.
See, that was cool. Matt sent this to me. Because if Matt is listening, he knows I don't pay any attention to anything he tells me to do. No, that's not true. Matt supplies, kindly, he supplies Cafe Bustelo, which is my favorite coffee. Because he knows, you know, well, I got to have something. I'm not doing drugs, other than the, you know, diabetes and, you know, so, yeah. You know, I still survive a lot on Social Security, so, you know, there's no room for drugs.
I had just started Social Security, and I was going through it. You go up where you get a list of all of what you earned over the years. And I took the first 10 years after college and emailed it to my boys and said, here's what I earned back then on the annual basis. And they're like, no way.
My first radio job was $75 a week. Take home was $60. Speaking of having to share an apartment with somebody, I mean,
well, in college, I think rent was $45 a month.
Well, I'm guessing that we'll be taking it back cold, so I'll read this.
Just grab it when you're ready.
And welcome back to the St. Johns County Morning News. Larry Ullman filling in for Smiley Jenny Gulino. And we appreciate you being here. 75 degrees high today with a 30% chance of rain, 87, just so you know. So, first Friday of the month, the Affordable Housing Matters program. So we welcome you back to that. Now, listen, you can make a difference in what's become an affordable housing crisis in this county. The workforce, ranging from teachers to first responders, restaurant workers, not able to find decent, safe, affordable housing in what is one of the most prosperous counties in our state. Elderly local businesses also suffering. Now, here's how you can help. If you have property or land, please contact the nonprofit, the St. Johns County Housing Partnership. If you are not in a position to donate, or you can donate for affordable housing, SJHP can possibly purchase and build affordable housing for community members. You can also make a cash donation, bequeath a gift. I hadn't thought of that, had you? Well, SJHP can give you further information about the tax and financial benefits of these and other gift methods. Just visit www. You knew that, didn't you? SJHP.org. And let's welcome back the people who know all the information today. We have Bill Lazar, Executive Director of St. John's Housing Partnership, and Scott Maynard, Economic Development Director with the St. John's Chamber of Commerce. Gentlemen.
Thank you, sir. And I want to just add a little bit about that. The Housing Partnership is constantly looking for opportunities to buy real estate. We're looking for raw land, we're looking for buildable lots, we're looking for a home or a mobile home that somebody might want to sell. And at a certain point, we may have to pay close to market rate just because that's what someone needs to be able to sell the property. But if someone will try and work with us as opposed to saying, oh, I can get an investor to pay me in 2 weeks, it might take a little bit longer. But everything that we do, we're either buying or selling, whatever we're doing, our goals are to house local employees and local residents. It's not to help other folks who are trying to move here as much as some of them may need to. We had a gentleman the other day who's got some land that he wants to sell us, and he said, my sister and I have had this for 40 years. Mom left it to us, and we like the fact that you're trying to build homes for local families, and so we'd like to work with you, and we want to sell it to you. And that, and they're willing to say, take a little bit of time, because it'll take us a couple months to try and figure out with the county what we can build there and everything else. But it's whether it's new homeownership opportunities or rental. We need both, and we got a line of credit with Ameris Bank to kind of kick it off. We built 12 homes in the last 10 months or so, and we want to pick it up, and if we can get to 20 at a time, we can sell them in a heartbeat. And a lot of it really comes back to the same thing of finding those lending partners. You saw that special note about Bank of America. Interest rates are what makes it work. We've got some of the homes that we're building, we're selling for $250,000, which still blows my mind going back to what we started here when they were going for 70 or 100. But with USDA, there's a 3.5% interest rate right now over 33 years. We're getting people in for $1,300 a month. You can't rent a place in this town for that. So, that's where finding those lending partners makes all the difference in the world.
Yeah. And Bill, one thing you might want to also mention that we hear a lot is when we start talking about workforce housing or affordable housing, a lot of people will put up a wall instantly and go, oh no, I don't want that near me. But this is not what people refer to a lot of times as Section 8 housing. These are people that are working full-time jobs, paying a full-time mortgage, sending their kids to school just like everybody else, and always great neighbors, right?
Well, so it's really hard when you talk about affordable housing. Everybody's got a different picture of it, and to your point, someone always thinks of the worst example. It's kind of like, well, I'm not going to buy a car because I knew this really crappy mechanic one time.
Right.
But you need both rental and home ownership opportunities, and ultimately, affordable housing is really defined by two things. It's defined by the financing that might be available, like that special Bank of America loan, and it's defined by verifying the household income and the number of people that are buying or renting that particular piece of property. That's really one of the hardest things for developers and even our county government to come to an agreement on, because they use the term workforce, and then, then it was preferred housing, and then it was, everybody's got a different definition. I said, I don't care what you call it, you got to verify the income. And if you say, because then it becomes a math problem. If it's really hard to build rental housing and keep it under $800 a month. The county's got two subdivisions, or not subdivisions, but apartment complexes going up off of 207 that were built with disaster money related to Hurricane Matthew in both San Marco Heights and spacing out on the other one. But both of them are designed for families at 65% of the area median income. So rents will be in that $800 to $1,000 a month, depending on bedroom. But it's because the county was able to subsidize those units almost $15 million, and the owner has to agree to keep them affordable for 30 years. So that's if a developer says, I want to do affordable housing, just like the one that you got here about the Twin Creeks projects, you got to just sit and say, so who are they serving? Because it's not that they're necessarily trying to get to someone who's doing minimum wage. They're saying, I can build rental housing for the teachers who are making $40,000 a year and need a place to rent. So it becomes, if you don't get clear on who you're trying to rent to and what it is, it's hard for a builder developer to figure out, can I really do that? It's a big math problem.
It is, and another one of those math problems we were talking about earlier today that I just learned about yesterday is on the Florida ballot this November, there's going to be an amendment called Amendment 3, which allows an additional $50,000 homestead property exemption on homes for certain groups like teachers, first responders, veterans. those in the military, and that will be on everyone's ballot to choose yes or no, up or down. But again, that's another tool that we can utilize to potentially get an individual into housing that was not in housing before.
It's called stabilizing our workforce.
Right.
And it really, that, you know, when you see something like that, at a certain level, it's an acknowledgement by the leadership that we need to do something. And so what they're saying was, well, at the state level, or whoever got this started, what we can do is we can have this property tax exemption. So that helps a little bit. You know, it comes back to the same thing. You've got to layer all of these to really figure out how are we going to stabilize our workforce. Because ultimately, at a certain point, you say, I've either got to have these employees or I'm not in business. Now, we've had a couple restaurants in the last 2 months close down, I think in large part because they can't find enough employees to stay open for lunch and dinner. And it's kind of a recipe for disaster. If they can't stay fully open all that time, they can't make ends meet. We'll have some of the same issues. I think St. Johns County's got a shortage of teachers right now. I think part of that is related to they're looking around and going, well, I'm going to teach in whatever district. This is a great school district. We're still the top in the state. But they got to find a place to live that's close, or they're commuting from Palm Coast or Putnam, and then everybody's grousing about traffic. Our traffic problems, I think, are directly related to the fact that people don't have workforce housing that can live close to their jobs. We've got like 25% of our workforce that commutes in, I think, from other areas.
So what's interesting, we just ran these numbers a month or so ago, but we have over 60,000 individuals that leave the county every day to go to work. We have 42,000 individuals that come into the county every day to go to work. So there's 100,000 people moving
on the roads
going to another county.
Yep.
That doesn't even include all the people that are staying here in the county to work. So when you talk about traffic, that's a huge issue.
Yeah. Well, and that's, you know, I mean, I live down off 206. When school's not in session, I can get to work in 15 minutes. When school's in session and all the teachers and the workforce that are living in Palm Coast, they're clogging up US 1 on the way to work, and I'm like, okay, it's going to be a 30-minute drive. I want to talk to you. You've got a note. There's a new apartment complex coming up on the county commission. I think it's next week, the Twin Creeks Workforce Housing Project. That's a really neat example because, first off, it's on land that was set aside when we used to have a DRI requirement, and it was set aside for affordable housing almost 12, 14 years ago. And to the developer's credit, they kept the land there. They figured out a financing mechanism. I believe they're doing that entire project without any particular, local government funds or anything else. But they made it work because it was part of a plan that they set aside a long time ago, and they ran the infrastructure to it.
Yeah. And I believe that project, they acquired that land, I think, in 2007, if I'm not mistaken. So, yeah. So I'm hopefully that'll pass with flying colors and get through, and that construction project can get started. That's over 100 units coming in right there. So we need some more of those coming
and that's where, getting developers, and this developer, I remember talking to him, he said, well, we're not down on the lower end of the rental scale, but they're still creating rental housing. And at a certain point, it's like if they build new stuff, everybody who's renting something old and a little run down, they move into the new stuff, and everybody gets to kind of move up the food chain a little bit.
Bill and Scott, we're going to say thank you so much for being here.
Thank you,
it's been First Friday Affordable Housing Matters, a program on housing issues presented by WFOY and produced in cooperation with St. John's Housing Partnership. Join us again Friday, October 7th at 8:30 a.m. right here on WFOY. News, sports, and talk for St. Johns County.
That always flies through. Thank you.
Gentlemen, thank you so much. And thank everybody on Facebook. We appreciate it. This will be available as soon as Matt, the station manager, wakes up, gets out of bed, has 23 cups of coffee. He will post it, and you'll be able to watch it any old time you want. It'll just be the affordable housing portion on Facebook. Thank you so much for being here. Bye.
You can make a difference in what has become an affordable housing crisis in St. Johns County. Our workforce, ranging from teachers to restaurant workers, are not able to find decent, safe, affordable housing, and local businesses are suffering too. This trickle-down effect is resulting in the loss of qualified employees and essential personnel, reduced hours, or even shuttering of local stores, restaurants, and businesses. How can you help? If you have property or land, contact the St. Johns Housing Partnership. Call 824-0902 or visit sjhp.org.